Okay guys, in this video I want to show you how to problem solve and how to use JavaScript to create applications. Okay, we'll start with like basic applications and we'll stop there. We'll start with basic applications and then we'll stop there because I want you to understand my thinking process rather than, you know, specific things for each and every single kind of problem that you'll encounter, because you'll encounter thousands and probably hundreds of thousands of problems in your career and in your life, and the skills that I'm going to teach you here will be applicable to any programming language and any problem that you might have in your life, because these are like fundamental principles that are governing our life. Okay, it's nothing crazy, it's just I'm taking my mental process and I'm gonna try to deconstruct it in such a way where you can understand how I think about solving a specific problem, right? And this is gonna be a ranty video and I'm sorry for that, but I'm trying to formulate, you know, complex things that are happening in my brain and in everyone's brain. So I might go on tangents and whatnot, so please excuse me for that. Okay, so the system that we will be using to solve any kind of problem is called first principles. This is the fundamental model that we will be using to solve any kind of problem that you will have in programming and any kind of problem that you would have in your life, really. All right, so what is first principles? First principles means trying to break down each problem into a specific set of components or smaller problems. Then you break down each component or problem into smaller problems, and then you solve each problem, solve the bigger problem, if that makes sense, okay? And then what you need to understand is that code, the idea that we are writing code, or we are writing code to solve a problem, right? We cannot have code without a problem. If you have code without a problem, then you just have some text, okay? Each and every single line of code that you're writing has to have an end goal in mind. If you do not have the end goal in mind, then you cannot write the code. That's something that you need to understand, right? And the reason why a lot of people struggle with learning JavaScript and learning programming in general is because they don't understand what problem they can solve, what is the appropriate problem for their level and whatnot. They don't understand how to break that bigger problem that they have into smaller problems. In order to solve a problem, we need two things, in my opinion, from my reflections in the gym today. We have knowledge and then we have skills. Okay, knowledge and skills. So what is the difference between knowledge and skills? Knowledge is what you know, and what you know, you don't know. So what you know, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's like what you know, right? In case of like JavaScript and whatnot, you know your variables, you know your functions. If you're watching this, you know if-else statements, you know how to query elements from the screen, you know how to create elements, you know about arrays, or you will know about arrays, you know about objects, and so on and so forth. So that's our knowledge. So we have a circle here, which is what we know that we know, right? This bigger circle is what we know we don't know. And the biggest circle of them all is what we don't know, right? So our pursuit in programming and in life in general is to increase the size of these two circles within this bigger circle. Obviously, knowing everything is impossible, right? I hope that makes sense and you agree with that. But we also have control over these two circles. The way we increase this smaller circle is with experience, right? And the same for this one, right? We are trying to solve a specific problem. We will tap into what we know we don't know, right? For example, let's say an array method like splice. To this day, I don't know how to write a splice, you know, but I know that, or I don't even know if splice or slice is the right method for what I want to do, but the thing I want to do is, for example, cutting parts of an array, right? So slicing up an array into multiple pieces. So I know about that thing, but I don't know how to do it, all right? Or I don't know exactly what is the syntax. So that would be here, all right? But there are certain things. Like for example, you see this circle is so big that I don't even know what I don't know. Like this is like a clear demonstration. My brain and my intelligence is limited by what I know I don't know, right? For example, I wanna land on Mars. Well, I don't even know what I don't know about that thing, if that makes sense, okay? So I know I need to be able to breathe, I know I have to be able to build a spaceship, right? And that would be here in I know what I don't know, because I could try to research how to build a spaceship and whatnot. But I don't know like so many things. Like this thing is gonna take me an entire lifetime to be able to go on Mars. I don't think anyone managed to land on Mars. I'm digressing, right? So I just wanted to prove a point. So we have knowledge and then we have skills, and skills means our ability to put our knowledge into practice. Knowledge comes with time, and then skills come with time as well. They are like coming together, right? You can be extremely knowledgeable, but if you don't know how to use your knowledge, if you don't have the skills, or if you don't know how to use your knowledge, that means you don't have the skills, right? Because a bunch of people, if you are in the program and you've been teaching yourself code for a lot of time, you have a lot of knowledge, but you have no skills. In an ideal world, we'll find a combination or an equal balance between knowledge and skills. We always want to have this imbalance, if you like this, right? You don't have more knowledge than skills, probably. I don't know. I haven't thought really much about this. And you cannot have more skills than you have knowledge. I guess skills is knowledge put into practice. While knowledge is not just theoretical, skills is knowledge put into practice. And the cool thing is that both of these things, they compound. So compounding means you get more out of something with time, right? So you know about compound interest when you put your money into a bank account and whatnot, you know, like you've seen that chart that goes like this, boom. Or like YouTube subscribers, etc., etc. That's compounding. So thing is, when you start programming, for a lot of time you'll be here, right? You see no output in your performance. You see no output, right? You are just here and then you are just gaining knowledge, right? And some skills if you are active and proactive enough, right? You are gaining skills and knowledge, but you don't see any results out of it. You just see a bunch of pain, right? You see how painful it is to like study and try to figure out things and to Google things out and blah, blah, blah. But you're not getting anything out of it, right? You need to understand that these two things compound. So after a certain period of time, all this work that you've put here into acquiring the knowledge and the skills will compound, and then you'll start to get results. And then the results are getting crazier and crazier. The amount of knowledge that you're getting is getting smaller, but then you are kind of reaching a saturation point in your knowledge, and then you can create more things with less effort. Okay, that's it for this part. Let's try to solve this problem, right? So clicking on an input and then opening some sort of drop down. How can we do that? This is like a problem, right? Or a feature that you probably found in like many applications. Agree with me? Do you agree with me? So how do we go about creating this thing? There are many ways to skin the cat, and I'm gonna show you how I think about creating this in the simplest form possible, without optimizations, without, you know, trying to write fancy code and whatnot, you know. It's just gonna be like a raw form of problem solving. And then obviously with experience, you can create the same thing in a better way. And yeah, let's get into it. All right, so let's take a screenshot of this thing, and let's take a screenshot of it. So we have two states pretty much, right? You cannot start solving this if you do not have some basic knowledge, right? If you don't know what a variable is, if you don't know what an event listener is, if you don't know how to change a class with JavaScript, if you don't know all those things, then you need to catch up on those things, and you need to understand how those things work. But once you have some basic knowledge, then we can use our problem solving. You cannot problem solve if you don't have basic knowledge. If you watch this video and you haven't acquired that knowledge yet, make sure you acquire it. But still, this is going to be valuable for you. You can watch it later, right? When you get that basic knowledge. What do we have here? We have an input with a drop down, right? So if we have two states, open state and closed state. This is our main thing, right? The next thing that we have an input, and then we also have some drop down, which is going to be like a list. So this would be our elements, yeah? An input and a list, right? This would be in the HTML and this would be also in the HTML. We also need some sort of event listener, right? Something that could detect the fact that we are clicking on something, right? But before we even try to detect that click, we need to grab the reference to that input from the HTML, right? And then bring it into JavaScript. So then we need reference for both of these things. That would be like some variable or something like that. An input in our HTML world, a list in our HTML world, and then we have a reference to those elements so we can manipulate them, right? So then the next thing that we need is to know when we click on the input, right? So then we can attach an click event. And what we want to do is, if this is our default and then we click, when we click, we want to show the list, right? So let's put here show/hide the list. Draw some lines, okay? And then from here, we're gonna make a reference to this. So I hope you can see how this works. This is very straightforward right now. Now the next thing that we need to ask ourselves is, how do we show or hide a list? If we break it down to first principles, we first need to understand what a list is. So a list in its most basic form is an HTML element, okay? The question is gonna be, how can I show or hide HTML element on click? How can I show or hide an HTML element on click? So let's see. How can I show or hide an HTML element on click? This is the first question that we are asking ourselves, because this thing is the problem that we need to solve, right? This is like the fundamental core problem that we need to solve. But we cannot solve this problem if we do not define the setup. So this is our setup. The input with the reference, with the click event, that's the setup. And then we have the list with its reference, which is a variable, and that's also setup. So we need a setup, and then we need to solve the problem using the setup. So let's write this down, because I just realized this. So the problem is this. I'm really trying to make you understand this, okay? Because it's very important. This is something that I wish I knew when I was learning programming, but nobody knew how to explain it. Okay, so we have the input. This is the setup, okay? And then the blue thing is the problem, right? Solve the problem, right? So let's see, how can we solve the problem? How can I show or hide an HTML element? So you see, just because I managed to define the problem, I literally found the solution. The solution is not important at all. I didn't even know about this. Like, I just pretty much showed you my thought process, right? So if I manage to define the problem in the best way possible, and that's not gonna be easy, right? The more complex problems you have, the more complicated things will be, and the more setup you need to create over here, right? The more setup you'll create, but it always boils down to the same thing, like trying to define the problem in the best way possible. And then if you know what the problem is, you ask the question to solve your problem, and then you'll find the answer, right? This is literally it. So instead of clicking on a button, you click on an input. You're running this function that's grabbing the element myDiv, which is this. Probably is not in the best, I wouldn't write it like this, but this is an example of the problem solved for you. Crazy, right? I hope you liked this video. I hope you found it valuable, and if you did, let me know what you think. Let me know if you want more videos like this. If you want to learn more stuff like this, and if you want to accelerate your skill learning process so you can become a better developer faster, to avoid all the bullshit and all the misinformation that's online, what you have to do is you have to apply for a free consultation call. The link for that is in the description of this video, and I'm going to show you exactly what you have to do so you don't waste years of your life trying to learn this, because it can be done faster, simpler. Don't believe the hype online. Yeah, some people learn it for free. I've done it for free, but I wasted so much time, so much frustration, and to be honest, I could have done it faster. So if you're interested, the link for that is in the description of this video. I hope you like this video. Let me know, like it and comment, so I can make more videos like this, so I can help you out. Until next time, peace!